Blabrecs is a hybrid physical-digital word game and an AI-based modification to the popular word game Scrabble. As in Scrabble, Blabrecs players take turns constructing words from a hand of letter tiles and placing them on a board to score points. Unlike in Scrabble, however, Blabrecs players do not use the dictionary to determine which words are allowed to be played. Instead, they consult an AI-based classifier that was trained on the dictionary, which forces them to only play plausible English-sounding nonsense words. As they play, Blabrecs players accumulate a growing list of plausible nonsense words and optional definitions for the words they've invented. These words can live on after the end of the game as a sort of private vocabulary between the players, bringing a greater degree of open-ended human creativity into a game that's historically best played as a game of wordless memorization. Blabrecs has been played very widely. The original tweet announcing its release received thousands of likes and retweets, and the game has been covered by news outlets including New Scientist, The Next Web, and the board game news site Dicebreaker. It was also exhibited as a playable experience at the 2021 AAAI Conference on Artificial Intelligence and Interactive Digital Entertainment, a leading conference in the field of game AI. Blabrecs currently offers two classifiers to play with, one based on a simple Markov chain, the other based on a convolutional neural network. The Markov chain classifier was created first and simply splits the player's candidate word into a sequence of 3-character trigrams. The likelihood of each trigram appearing in an English word is taken, and the probabilities of each trigram, specifically the probability that the trigram's first two letters are followed by its third letter in actual English dictionary words, are multiplied together to yield an overall probability for the word. Finally, these probabilities are normalized according to word length and compared to a fixed empirically determined probability threshold to determine whether the word as a whole is plausible enough to be allowed. For an alternative, more sophisticated classifier, we chose a separable convolutional neural network. This is because the English language consists of a relatively small number of words, and separable CNNs tend to perform well on similarly small datasets. We trained a custom tokenizer for Scrabble valid letters. For better classification of near English but unpronounceable words, the training data also included negative examples in the form of random letter sequences generated using the same letter frequencies as English. Early playtesting revealed that both classifiers yield acceptable judgments of nonsense word plausibility according to human players. However, the CNN tends to feel slightly better aligned with human intuition overall, and is less prone than the Markov chain classifier to being tricked by a strategy of agglomerating together many highly plausible trigrams with a single highly unlikely trigram to produce a classifier-accepted word that humans are unlikely to judge as plausible. The creation of Blabrecs was inspired by our desire to use AI to push people away from the familiar and toward the novel, in this case by essentially tabooing familiar English words and requiring the creative use of language to succeed. This simple intervention changes the familiar word game Scrabble from a game of memorization to one of open-ended creativity, dramatically shifting the dynamics of play. By putting players into a co-creative loop with the AI classifier, Blabrecs also functions to some extent as a means of instilling greater AI literacy. In repeatedly trying to sneak nonsense words past the classifier, players gradually develop a better and better intuitive understanding of the classifier's behaviors and quirks, an AI-based gameplay pattern that could potentially be reused elsewhere to similar effect. This effect is heightened in Blabrecs by the game's provision of two separate classifiers that the players are free to switch between at will, allowing them to directly compare the two classifiers' behavior and begin to understand how the methods of classification differ. In the extreme, the subjective experience of playing Blabrecs could be likened to that of being in the generator side of a generative adversarial network. Players gradually get better and better at constructing artifacts, in this case nonsense words, that the AI discriminator will classify as intended. The AI component of Blabrecs and written rules for playing the game can be accessed freely online at mcremins.github.io/Blabrecs. Source code is available at github.com/mcremins/Blabrecs. In the context of the NeurIPS exhibition, we plan to bring along several physical Scrabble sets, set these up in dedicated exhibit space, and make several instances of the AI interface available on laptop computers, one near each Scrabble board. This will allow attendees to experience the game themselves at the conference. Happy Blabrecsing!